during this very challenging time where we had to be forced to be separate from our friends and our colleagues, I was really grateful for this Anchor app, which has allowed me to continue the podcast after almost 1 year of working on it. It's free. You simply go to anchor.fm and download the app. And there you'll find all the tools that you need to record and edit your podcast, as well as to invite people onto your podcast through the app. Anchor also distributes the podcast for you on Apple, Spotify, and many other platforms. You have absolutely nothing to do except to record your podcast. If you have an ad like this, you can also make money. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. I would recommend it for anyone who wants to get their voice out there, has something to contribute. Go for it. Anchor.fm is where you go to download the free app and to get started. Good luck with your podcast. Welcome back to another episode of the Bees and Honey podcast. Today we'll be speaking with Dr. Arshiya Lokhandwala. I hope I haven't butchered her name, but she will say it again for you in the course of the interview. I hope you enjoy this. She has a lot to say about the Indian art market and about Indian contemporary art. Enjoy. Good afternoon, Arshiya.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for taking this time to talk to us before you head back to Mumbai.
Thank you so much for your kind invitation.
Yes, so tell us what you're currently working on. I know you're an independent curator, art historian, art consultant, and you're an educator, and you live between New York and Mumbai. How has this time been spent in New York?
Well, it's been pretty challenging in a lot of ways, but also very good and therapeutic. I've been here 2 months, and as you know, New York has been, a lot of friends are not meeting, and also it seems kind of risky to venture out into museums. So it's been kind of quite amazing, actually. I've been writing lots of ideas, and I've always found New York is a space that really inspires me. And actually, this kind of silence has been really nourishing. And I think lots of good ideas and projects are going to come out of it.
Lovely. So what have you been writing about, if you don't mind me asking?
So one of the things that I've just written for the Indian magazine Art India, there was the Triennale, which was curated by Rux Media Collective in Japan. And this took place from June till October, and unfortunately, even the curators couldn't visit the exhibition. So I've written a review for it, which was really interesting because the whole show was also kind of it was almost uncanny, though they started working on this 3 years ago, actually. The way that they had curated the show, it was almost like they were, expecting something to actually take place. So, it was really interesting to kind of read the material and review it. And lots of ideas for me, which have kind of come through from this writing, particularly a project that I am kind of trying to work on now. So I'm just beginning to work on it, and I think it's going to be really exciting, Nicolette. So you know that we have entered what we call the Aquarius age. So yes. It takes almost 2,000 years, and we've been in a Piscean age, and so it takes time to transition into the Aquarius age. So my show is called The Age of Aquarius, and it's a show that I'm going to be putting online. It will be on probably next month sometime. But the idea being the age of Aquarius is, as you know, Aquarius is a sign of water, but it's also creative energy. It's about humanity. It's about people coming together. And it's also about technology, which we have seen very evidently. A kind of connection, but essentially a new age. So I'm going to proposition, and I'm inviting a lot of artists based out of Mumbai, New York. And also essentially the show is not geographic. It's an online show, but it's looking at something very, very interesting. collecting, so I often think that the artists are like shamans. They are psychic. They have the energy about what is going to come. So I'm actually appealing, and we're going to do a lot of talks. So I'm kind of seeing this as an exhibition, which I will be putting online, but I'm also seeing it as a series of talks and maybe, performances that the participating artists and other people will bring through. So it's called the Age of Aquarius, and I'm just developing it. And I don't think it would have come if I was not in New York at this particular time, also the time that we're all feeling so vulnerable and sensitive, but also sensing that change needs to come through. And what are the kind of changes that we would like?
Yes. And can you mention some of the artists that might be in the exhibition?
So I've just started working on it, but I have some confirmations. There is Shaurya Kumar, who is teaching at the Art Institute of Chicago. There is Sharmishta Ray, who's New York based. Then there is Samantha Batra, who is also based out of New York. And there has Anita Dubey, who is a very, very prominent artist from India. Also the curator of the Kochi Biennale, and Mithu Sen from New Delhi. So I think it's going to be really, really exciting. I can expect works which are dealing with the tarot, psychic energy, constellation, astronomy, astrology, but also kind of looking and digging into ourselves. So I think, I don't know if you know this, Nicolette, but I'm really partial to large-scale shows, and I always take on something more challenging than I can do. I'm always wanting to do that. And so for me, I'm looking at this as a one-year project, which will be online, but I'm also looking at inviting a lot of people who, who are interested in healing and different therapies. And I feel, it's also a kind of path forward for me. And one thing that I do as a curator, I really can't do a show unless I'm really, really inspired. And after a long time, actually, it's been a year that I'm actually feeling that this is what I have to do. It's the next step. It's also learning, but it's also a way of giving back because, everything will be online for people to come in, to share, and you don't have to be an artist to participate in the show. So it's called the Aquarius. I mean, I love the title. It's just kind of, after a long time, so excited about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I love everything you just spoke about. For me, all those subjects are very dear to my heart, and I can't wait to see what you manage to do with that show.
So I'm going to bring you on to do something, a performance, and because it's a platform. I'm trying to create, Nicolette, with this a community, so there's no kind of othering, which everybody's a part of. And I'd love you to also think about what you could, it could be a prayer, it could be a psychic read, it could be anything you want, but please to come and participate and, kind of grow together. So it is a community I'm trying to build. And so it's exciting because I've never worked on a project which is like this. And it's always, you don't know how it's going to go. But the thing is, when the energy is right, it always works. So I'm so excited that you like the idea. And so do let me know some thoughts you have.
I will. And before this, you had a gallery for some time in Mumbai. And so tell us how you started that gallery, the exhibitions you did, and the artists that you worked with there.
So I was actually, ex-advertising, and my dad had the real estate in, North Bombay on the main road. So that was a location. I was really fortunate to have a location for a gallery. And I was India's youngest gallerist. I opened, with a very prominent show and India's Picasso, so to speak. His name is M.F. Hussain. So he inaugurated my gallery. And so it was a very, very exciting time. It was actually pre-globalization in India, before everything kind of opened up. And I was a small space, and I was showing the avant-garde. So what I did differently is I exhibited artists who were actually my age and who were working with new material, and that time there was an explosion of new media as well, photography just coming into being, and video, a lot of experimentation with paper, rice paper, all of that. So it was a very, very exciting time. But per se, I am somebody who is always wanting to grow, and so I think it really affected the way that I curate, because I really curate very much from the heart. I really need to feel the concepts. And because I'm coming from the field of advertising, I think the way I approach things is kind of different. And at that time in India, there was no art history at all. I mean, we never studied art history, and we still don't in school. And nobody knew what a curator was, seriously. So, I just started putting up exhibitions, and it was an amazing moment for me because I was really lucky to have in the suburbs some very senior artists who came to visit me, including Tayyab Mehta, Akbar Padamsi, who kind of nurtured me, gave me lots of ideas and about how to run a gallery. And in a way, my gallery was a place where everybody hung out. So we had like endless cups of tea, especially also the younger generation, showcasing the artist Shilpa Gupta, amongst others. Also, so a very, very good moment. And there was a lot of innocence in the kind of work that we did. And one did it for really the true reasons of art. The commerce came so much second. This is before the market really, kind of plummeted and went up. And then I had this gallery for 5 years, which was in North Bombay. And my gallery name is called Lakeeren. Lakeeren in Urdu and Hindi means lines. And the reason that I had it was because I don't believe in boundaries. So I look at it in terms of the rhizome. Lines connect. And therefore, my program has always been, national, the nation state. So it also led me very much to have the opportunity to participate in Oakwe and Wizard's documenta in Kassel. I got a scholarship to go to London to do a master's in Goldsmiths before that. And I met the amazing historian Sarat Maharaj, and he invited me to participate in the documenta as the education program. So it was a huge influence, and Oakwe also being one of the first Black curators to actually work and see such a large exhibition take place. So, really influenced me. And then I was invited to go to Cornell University to do a PhD under, Professor Salah Hassan, who has been, a tremendous influence. And so I did my PhD, and then I went back to Mumbai, and I reopened my gallery in Kulaba, which is the South Mumbai location. This is in 2010. And it was up and running till 2017. And I did like several. So I think I've done over 200 shows in both the gallery spaces that I have. But so it's been constantly lots of doing, lots of invention, and programming. And I felt that, at that time that I had done what I had to do, and I had to take a break. And I had the opportunity to also work in Mumbai in this very large gallery, which is called Gallery Odyssey, which is 6,000 square foot and an incredible space in Midtown. And I curated two very important shows for them. One is based on, it's called The Gift, Given Time, the gift offerings, and it's based on Derrida's idea of the gift, that if I give you a gift, it already demands a return gift. The only thing, it gives you time to return the gift. So I invited 12 eminent artists from India, including Nikhil Chopra, Jyotish Kalat, Anita Dubey, Mithu Sen, Shilpa Gupta, Shaurya Kumar, Rux Media, amongst others. It was very, very successful. And I'm very happy to say that the show is going to come to New York, Icon Gallery, and most likely in April 15th is the date. It would be another version of the gift show. So the works would be, many of the artists are reworking the works, but I think it would be really, really promising. So I'm hoping that you will be able to visit and see this really beautiful show, which is talking about giving. And I think given the fact that we are living through this very difficult time, even the gift of life is really something one can't take for granted.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And you also worked at some point in an institution, the Queen's Museum. How was the time there? And do you have some other stories about memorable experiences on exhibitions there?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Queen's Museum show, it took 7 years because the museum was being, completely redone, and to actually have the show. And as you know, Queen's is a location. It's like, not in Manhattan, and one understood many things about the exhibition, but it was a delightful show to work on and very exciting for me because what I did is, and this is what I try to do, I'm a very specific curator. I will always propose something that I don't know or which has been defined as such. So the show was called After Midnight, and it looked at two moments of Indian history. One were the masters, they're called the progressives. And the reason is the show is called After Midnight is after Salman Rushdie's very famous novel, Midnight's Children. And in that book, Rushdie actually looks at the generation that is born in the year that India got independence, 1947. So I'm using this as a year, and which is a very important period for the progressive artists. That 8 of them who I invited for this exhibition. And interestingly, most of them are, have passed and, have moved on. But these 8 artists that I chose to select from the progressive, they had a connection with New York City. They all had a Rockefeller grant or in some way was connected with it. And all the works that I had in that show were New York loans. So very specific history of New York. And another thing which I think people haven't really noted is New York City, all these artists that I had shown, 5 of them had, after coming to New York, something about their work changed. So I talked about the avant-gardeness of New York and the work that they did. For example, Tayyab Mehta, he's a painter and he made this one film. The only film that he made after coming to New York is called Kudal, which was also shown. So talking about the influence of New York City. So I think it was a very special show in a lot of ways. So I juxtaposed this exhibition with contemporary, 20 contemporary artists who, so the second moment that I looked at, so one moment was 1947 and the second being 1997. The reason I took this was 2 reasons. One is it commemorated 50 years of India's independence. And it was the year globalization started. So artists like Subodh Gupta and others, they all got residencies to go abroad, and things started opening up and the work started changing. So it was looking at 2 moments of globalization because the progressives, they also, in the early 50s, most of them left India, like F.N. Souza, S.H. Raza, all of them, they lived in the US and they moved on. Raza, of course, in Paris. But in the same way, this generation, the avant-garde, the contemporary artists that I'm looking, like Rux Media, they all looking at globalization. So it's a show which juxtaposed 2 very unlikely moments, and I think it works. So very exciting. Following which, it actually, gave me the courage to work on another large-scale show which followed. So I have worked on a lot of national shows, so including, of course, this one After Midnight and the show after that, which I did in 2017 in the same space, the Gallery Odyssey, which was called India Reworlded, 70 Years of Investigating a Nation. So a huge show. I did the show in 4 months, so completely crazy, inviting 70 artists. And what I did was, so commemorating 70 years of India's independence, and each artist had 1 year. So 1 year of the lifetime of a year. So it was kind of quite ludicrous. I had to, because there were 25 new commissions. So each artist had to choose a year. So for example, Atul Dodia, the very prominent painter, he chose the year 1947. So that year was given to him. So I had 70 years, like it was like a calendar show, and many new commissions, and each work had a vortex. So if you walk through the exhibition, you could actually feel and understand what happened in India at every moment and time in its history.
Wow, that sounds amazing. I have to look that up because I wasn't really aware of the extent of the show.
Sure, I'll also have a video to show you. I mean, because it was a large exhibition and, pretty probably my most challenging. So I think now I'm ready for the number 100. Yeah, which is what I'm
Yes,
thinking for the age of Aquarius. I don't know if I can pull it off, but
absolutely.
I don't know. I think it's also interesting as a curator to work with. It really pushes your boundaries in terms of thinking, and taking the next step in terms of how you can, like, take these ideas further. So always there for the challenge.
Absolutely. And how has this COVID crisis affected India's art market? And how has it affected you personally in terms of showing art and selling art, or maybe just planning new exhibitions? I know you spoke about the one that you're working on right now, but how has it affected people in your country,
Um, so
like in Mumbai?
So, from whatever I've understood, so I don't really have a physical gallery now. I'm working as
Mm-hmm.
art consultant, and there is,
Mm-hmm.
fairly good interest in terms of the art market. And I can say that speaking to my colleagues as well who have galleries, I think people are buying art, and they are actually buying art in a more peaceful and at good price points. So I think
Mm-hmm.
the market for the moderns, that is the masters, is like going through the roof. uh, Also
Mm-hmm.
because people don't have different ways of investing at this current point of time, so it's doing really well. And I'm told that even the contemporary artists are selling, so I'm very happy to hear this. In India, no galleries are folded up, and people are doing well, and hopefully collectors have a little more time to spend and look at art, more closely. So I think it's going good. Some of my projects have, of course, got cancelled and postponed. So, which is definitely to be expected. But I feel,
Mm-hmm.
on the whole, it's rather positive, and things are just kind of the grid is kind of getting stronger. The networks are there, and I think there's really nothing to worry about. It is a moment. The One of the things that I feel which is really interesting is it's the first time the entire world is on the same page and feeling the pain. Normally you have war, and you have some issues in a certain country, but it's never been that everybody is feeling this. And I think this is the very critical thing about this moment. And I'd love to know what's happening in New York City. I haven't had a chance to actually venture out or speak to a lot of people, but I do believe that the rents are very it's kind of problematic, and a lot of the smaller galleries are folding, and I'm sad to hear it, but I'm sure that they will reinvent. Maybe that is what is expected at this time.
Wow, I never thought of it, but it's true. It's the great equalizer, this COVID crisis in some ways. But yes, so many storefronts are empty. I imagine the landlords will have to figure some affordability discussions with future clients, like new galleries, young galleries.
Absolutely.
And where do you see contemporary Indian art heading right now? I mean, you're going back to Mumbai when?
I am
Tomorrow?
actually.
Yeah. So where do you see who is coming up now? Who are the young guys, or what are they into? What are they doing?
So
What's their
yeah,
spiel?
so actually, I'm going in time for in Mumbai. There is something called the Mumbai Gallery Weekend, and it's going to take
Mm-hmm.
place, I think, around the 16th of January. So, where all the galleries in Mumbai, they kind of come together collectively and put out the most
Mm-hmm.
spectacular shows, get collectors, and also it's still happening. Uh, I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure that people will be wearing a mask, but it's the most exciting time to visit. So I think there's some new galleries which have come up. I haven't seen them yet, and there
Mm-hmm.
is a lot of fresh blood, and that's the way the art should be, because you need to constantly reinvent yourself. And say for me as well, I need to find new ways and new challenges to grow further. And but I can say the future of Indian art is extremely bright. There are some very, very good artists, and I think what's also interesting is a lot of now, I can just speak for America. American institutions are buying Indian artists. It's a wonderful
Mm-hmm.
a thing to do, and it's great for galleries, but it's also the fact that it
Mm-hmm.
speaks about the development and the richness of Indian art, and which is really, I think in a way, Indian art, and I can speak for Indian art and Pakistani art as well, it's no less than anything which is Western. It's unfortunate that it's always been that the West has been in a position to judge us, but in a way, the kind of the strength of the work itself is just on par, and there's nothing less or more. So I think we have a very good, strong market for Indian art in India, and now it's growing in the US. And hopefully, you will see it also in my exhibition, the Given Time show at the Icon Gallery. So
lovely. Okay, so I'll definitely look out for that. So is there anything else you wanted to add? I might not have asked something. Maybe you have an idea, or I don't know. Anything else?
Well, I'd love to actually hear back. And I mean, if there is any of the listeners would like to connect with me, I can give you my email. It's lakeeren@gmail. That's LAKEEREN @gmail.com. I'd love to hear back from you, and just to let you know that I am open for collaborations, for curating, for lectures and all of that. And also, as you know, I teach a class in South Asian Feminism at the Art Institute of Chicago. So I'm also a teacher. So if there are any possibilities for us to work together, I would love to hear from you.
Lovely. Well, thank you so much again, and safe travels. I can't wait to speak to you offline about your projects.
Thank you so much, Nicolette. It was so wonderful to connect with you again, and look forward to seeing you very soon.
Yes, take care. Have a
Yeah,
good
you
evening.
too. Thank you so much. Thank you for this.
But yes, you're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye. I hope you enjoyed listening to Dr. Arshiya Lokhandwala discuss the contemporary art world in India and all the amazing work she's done with Indian contemporary artists. Join us again soon for another episode of the Bees and Honey podcast.